Anyway, by the way, forgetting names and things, that's one of the things you have to face when you grow old. All of a sudden you can't think of the name of that. I was just talking to that guy, what was his name? So, did I cover everything? No? Yeah.
What about your relationship with your grandparents when you were a kid?
Oh, my grandparents were, of course, born in Japan, and my paternal grandparent, hey,
Yeah, we can sit down.
let me find, can I find the CD?
Yeah.
Anyway, my paternal grandparent was, had three boys, and when he emigrated by himself. His wife followed the year after, I think, to Alameda, and the three boys were left there on the care of other relatives, and they arrived. The oldest two arrived about 15 years later, but the third one, the youngest one, was barred from entering the U.S. It passed an Oriental Exclusion Act, so they wanted to stop the immigration of Asians into the U.S. So and he got caught up in that, so he never did emigrate, and he was raised as an orphan in Japan. My grandparents, having in the meantime, gave birth to 6 other kids who were born in the U.S. and raised more like second generation Japanese kids, and they all lived in Alameda, like we all did, except for us who lived in Oakland. And when the war was in progress, and we were all in internment camps, the government decreed that anyone who wanted to leave to go to the east of the U.S. was welcome to leave. So a lot of my family moved to Chicago, and from Chicago they still live there. So our family is now split mainly between the Bay Area here and Chicago, and some of them actually split from Chicago and live in New York, I think. So I should have brought my family tree with me, which I took a lot of pains to make, but I've shown it only to my family. And I've shown it to others, but they don't seem interested, actually, except this class. You guys probably all be interested in it, because it shows that I think where we have now, from that initial immigration, about the 5th generation of family living in. Some of them are still very, very young. From the babies on up, there's that many generations, and as you get further up, there's a mix between the American-born family and the family born in Japan, and that, of course, they have different languages, of course, and they behave differently than and then the kids do in America. And I don't know, but we all seem to get along all right. Yeah.
Did you grow up speaking Japanese
What?
at home? Did you grow up speaking Japanese at home?
Well, I never knew how to speak Japanese. So my mother once wanted to know what I did for a living, and I tried to explain it to her, but I'm not speaking, she didn't speak English, and I didn't speak any Japanese, so I couldn't do it. And, anyway, she went away thinking I was involved in medicine somehow. Anyway, that's a thing about us born of Japanese parents, is that we went to schools and spoke only English, and we had a sort of a language thing at home where there's certain kind of grunts and everything, and so you sort of got along and understood what we needed, but we could never have a conversation with our parents, and because they couldn't understand us and we couldn't understand them. And when they spoke Japanese to other people in Japanese, we had no idea what they're talking about. Anyway, well, that's growing up in an immigrant family is the same as this.
Did your grandparents go, when they went with you guys, with the whole family, the whole extended family, when you guys all went to Gila River, did your grandparents come back to Oakland with you, or did they go to Chicago?
Well, my grandparents were in Chicago, yeah, but they came back. My grandfather died in Chicago, and his wife came back to Oakland and lived in our house for a couple of years before she too died. So she wanted to come back to Alameda, but she came back to Oakland and lives in our house. I have some nephews who took trips to Japan, and or in fact my parents, father and mother, went back to Japan once, and they went back, and of course they didn't recognize anything of what they saw. The country had changed so much, so they actually felt kind of lost there, taking the blue train and everything. But they did come back with a picture of, you remember the one son of my grandparent that was stranded in Japan. He had a big family there, and so my parents visited them, and they came back with a big picture sitting pretty stolid. Pretty well like a studio portrait or something. I don't know. It didn't look like a very friendly picture. They got to see my father got to see his brother after many years. And that son who was stranded in Japan actually in later years, I think he was like in the late 20s, had joined the Navy, and he was on a ship that sailed into San Francisco, and so he got some time off to meet his family here in the Bay Area. So that was a big event for us, and we all got a big group picture of us with him. A woman dressed in some weird clothing. I guess they dressed weird in those days. But my oldest brother was in the picture as an infant. So it wasn't that long ago.
Do you see your grandchildren? You have 3, right? Your grandson that you helped raise.
Well, yeah, I had 2 daughters, and so I have 3 grandchildren, and they're all good-looking kids. They inherited their good looks from Grandpa, you know. And they're the oldest one is a senior at Santa Clara High here, and the youngest go to a middle school. Yeah, and they're both of the 2 little girls are active in theater and dance and stuff. So they're in a lot of events around and competitions and everything. And so we see them a lot. The older one was the one I had taken care of till age 2 in high school now. He's quite a different guy. He was autistic as a little boy, so he had special treatment in grammar school, and I used to pick him up after school, and we'd go over to some park or something, and I'd read books to him, which he liked, but he liked better after reading the books to go off and play in the amusement park. That was what we did in a lot of his grammar school time, and I sort of lost track of him in junior high school, and now he's in high school. So I don't know how he's doing now. I think he still likes me. He's got a girlfriend now, which sort of tells me to stay out of the way. So that's how things are with my grandkids. And I've come to realize that it's my grandkids that are the most important people to me. And one of the things that I was asked about was what sort of things what sort of advice would you give to students like you who what kind of old guy advise you, and